Amazon Prime Video really isn't having the best year. The platform responsible for most of the best shows within the Indian streaming space has had a shaky year at best, with a lot of serviceable placeholders but few real storytelling winners, aside from perhaps Panchayat 2 and Guilty Minds. But does Breathe Into the Shadows Season 2 break that streak and give Amazon and Abhishek Bachchan a much needed win? Let's break it down. Breathe Into the Shadows Season 2 picks up 3 years after the events of last season. Sincere, mild-mannered psychiatrist Avinash, played by Abhishek Bachchan, is locked up in a mental asylum after it was discovered that the person who first kidnapped his daughter and blackmailed him to go on a murder spree last season was none other than himself. Yup, split personality disorder. The big bad guy was revealed to be Avinash's evil mastermind alter ego Jay the whole time. And of course, after being locked away for 3 years, Jay/Avinash escaped from the asylum and are now back out on the streets to continue his killing spree.
Freedom is a relative term. अंदर रहूं या बाहर मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
And back on the case to once again track down and capture Jay is police officer Kabir Sawant, played by Amit Sadh. And joining Jay on his killing crusade this season is fellow nutjob and killer Victor, played by a curiously cast Naveen Kasturia. Naveen's Victor is like the excitable puppy protege who looks up to Jay and makes it his mission to help him. And an oddly endearing Naveen brings a much needed playfulness and irreverence to the series.
I'm dying of excitement.
I promise you, you will.
From creator and director Mayank Sharma, Season 2 once again establishes a dense, moody and suitably creepy atmosphere. Cinematographer S. Bhardwaj's visual aesthetic lends itself well to creating a pulpy, violent world. But that aside, there's very little that actually works here. For starters, this is a world where having severe mental health issues equates to becoming a violent murderer. Trauma, abuse, schizophrenia, whatever it is that you're suffering from, chances are that in Breathe, you're a psycho killer. Not only is it uncomfortable and insensitive, the show still makes tone-deaf, foot-in-mouth attempts to act like it's actually raising awareness about mental health. Just no. But the real issue here is the overexcited, nonsensical plot, driven by conveniences, contrivances, and coincidences. So desperate is this show to be suspenseful and inundate us with urgent cliffhangers and relentless twists that it seems to be quite okay with not making sense. Early on in the first few episodes, the show is watchable enough as we see Jay put his grand plan in motion. But the narrative eventually just seems to go in circles. For example, in one episode, a character betrays Jay and sells him out to the cops, until you later find out that he knew about it and planned for it the whole time. And then you find out that they knew he knew and he knew they knew he knew. And eventually they all knew that he knew they knew, and I wanted to lie down. Then there's Jay's mission itself. Known by the media as the Ravan Killer, his plan is to murder the 10 people who have inflicted trauma on his alter ego Avinash over his lifetime. I'm sorry, but how inept are these cops that for 3 years they've known that this serial killer wants to murder the 10 people who have severely wronged him, but they still can't seem to figure out who those victims are until they're found dead. Also, unlike last season, this time I felt next to no sympathy for Avinash, who's supposed to be a victim trapped in his own body, made to do things against his own will. Half the time you don't even know if it's Jay or Avinash at the wheel. Or maybe it's because after a point, it just doesn't seem to matter which one it is. This is also a world where seemingly innocent married couples like Avinash and Abha really just be ready to murder random folks for their loved ones at the drop of a hat. They're both truly ridiculous characters that are difficult to take seriously, let alone feel for. But despite that, as Abha, Nithya Menen brings a much needed sense of emotional credibility to the proceedings. What Breathe Into the Shadows is trying to do is play with morality and give us a Tabbar style, how far would you go for your family story. But writers Mayank Sharma, Arshad Saeed, Vikram Tulli and Priya Sagi don't seem to know the difference between morally grey and straight up blurry and incoherent. But Breathe Into the Shadows' weakest link is Abhishek Bachchan. I've always been a fan of his pleasant presence, but here, a dead behind the eyes Abhishek manages to do very little with a complex role. For one, he can barely seem to differentiate between Jay and Avinash. A permanently skulking face, a deeper voice, an inconsistent limp, and pushing your lip to one side do not a character make. It's a performance that needs the processed packaging, blaring background score, and constant cutting around it to be palatable. Instead, Breathe continues to be an Amit Sadh show all the way. Despite the simplistic writing, Amit's Kabir Sawant is the best thing on offer here. He nails the tortured cop archetype. Dehydrated, sleepless, and armed with sad eyes, I like the quiet frustration he brings to a jaded officer. Kabir is a character that deserves a better show.
हमारी दुनिया अब छोटी होना शुरू हो चुकी है.
तुम्हारा टाइम खत्म।
I also couldn't help but wonder what this show might have been if roles were reversed and if Amit explored the layers of Jay/Avinash and Abhishek played the no-nonsense cop Kabir. Oh well, the fact remains that Breathe Into the Shadow Season 2 works better as an ongoing battle with coherence than it does as an engaging thriller. It's at best a flat and functional serial killer drama where the only thing truly being killed here is your time. You can watch Breathe Into the Shadow Season 2 on Amazon Prime Video.